Hi, meditation nerds. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad you're here. Having a little bit of a delay kind of made me laugh. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about spiritual corruption. I do want to start this off by saying that today's conversation is going to be heavy. We're going to be talking a little bit about spiritual abuse, manipulation. There will be mention of sexual assault in the context of these patterns. We're not going into graphic detail, but we are going to be addressing these topics. So please check in with yourself. Feel free to step away at any time. Prioritize your well-being above all. I do feel this conversation is important. I also believe that your safety is important. So please prioritize yourself. Come back to this when you feel like this is a add to um, always prioritize yourself. Excuse me. So this is not an easy conversation to have, and we are going to be highlighting three pretty big, prominent so-called gurus that have abused students. No, it's not comfortable. It is something I think that is important. Corruption happens in the shadows. Underlying theme here that's equal live. Did it stop? Okay, no, it's going. Okay. Um, and as someone that Kundalini yoga style meditations, I feel like this is an important conversation to bring up because it feels disingenuous to be sharing. Sorry, I keep getting different messages about. Okay, did the stream stop? No, it's still going, but it's showing as issues. Okay, hold on one second, guys. Sorry. Not sure if there's a problem. Okay, the timer is still going, so I'm not sure if. Okay, I'm not really sure what's happening. Hold on one second. Why is it not pulling it up? Whoops. Okay, I'm just checking my internet connection now that it's gonna come over here. Excellent, thanks for that. Okay, maybe there's just a delay. Looks like it's still live. Okay, bear with me, guys. Sorry. Wanted to check that before moving forward. Okay, so I feel this is important because, as I was saying, as someone who shares Kundalini yoga based meditations, it feels very disingenuous at best to share those and not address the other aspects associated with Yogi Bhajan, right? The person that brought Kundalini yoga meditations to the West. So, um, and this isn't meant to just be content, this is meant to be elevated from a place of empowerment. So while we are going to be talking about heavy, dense, not great things, this is not meant to uh, put any style or practice or form of meditation down. It's not to diminish the benefits that anyone receives from these practices. As I stated, I still regularly practice Kundalini yoga have actually helped me and continue to help me every single day. And yes, I do meditate every day. So that's part of why I want to speak to this. I have been wanting to do this for a couple, I'm quite sure how to talk about it. I don't know, it just didn't quite feel right. And then things kept happening and it never felt right. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up. It's going to be a right time to have these heavy. So I wanted to point out that, okay, my underlying goal here isn't just the individuals themselves, it's the system as a whole. It's because, yes, while the individuals absolutely should have been held accountable, I believe all of them are passed away now. The system that generated them is still very much in place and is still going unnoticed, and I think that's a problem as well. So we're going to start with the documented cases. These are pretty common cases. You may have heard of a lot of these. There was something else I was going to add here. Sorry, the internet thing continuing to go in and out is completely disjointed, which I guess fits into just what's been happening lately. Okay, so I'm going to go throw that whole part of my outline away. I feel like I handled that pretty well. Okay, but because, like I said, that's a practice that I benefit the most from. I still use, like I say, Kundalini yoga based meditations, adapted Kriyas. I fortunately did not work with any of the, well, that's not true. I worked with only one dogmatic teacher from the Kundalini Yoga school. And I don't know that I ever would have pursued it had I worked with more. Most of the teachers I fortunately worked with when I first started meditating were not like that. Dogma is not something I'm really interested in. And then fortunately, I found a teacher that has adapted the Kriyas into different programs that I find incredibly beneficial, no dogma required. So that's why we're kicking it off with Yogi Bhajan. So he was a Sikh immigrant from India who founded Kundalini Yoga in the West. It should be stated, in the West. He did not create this. This is not something he himself created. He learned this in India and brought it to the West. Okay. Organization 3HO, which was Healthy, Happy, Holy organization, and positioned himself as a Mahordi. So he has some sexual abuse allegations. He systematically sexually exploited. He raped multiple female students. I have to rephrase that because of YouTube. I think you understand what I'm saying there. This was often done under the guise of tantric teachings or spiritual marriage, which I just find repugnant. He also built a lucrative empire from the teacher trainings, the required donations, and controlled students' assets and businesses. So he's got some financial exploitation. These are all pretty common. These main points that I'm going over, all three of these so-called gurus share in different ways these main points. He created a cult-like environment with absolute obedience, isolation from family, and an enforced adherence to his rules, which were largely diet, dress, and marriage. One of the biggest things was you had to wear white. That was one of the things that a lot of the teachers I worked with did carry that through, and it felt very oppressive. The diet, not so much as far as the teachers I worked with, and none of the marriage stuff. That was all kind of stuff that I learned later on after the fact, because like I say, I fortunately did not work with Yogi Bhajan directly, and I only worked with one, what they called traditional teachers. And I only worked with her for a little while. I couldn't really handle the very oppressive feeling. He also used sleep deprivation, forced labor, public humiliation, and threats to maintain control. So while this is heavy-handed, this is also important that we speak to this because where humans are, it we're going to do unacceptable things, right? This is like, I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just making a point that there isn't really a quote unquote safe space where you can go that is untouched by some sort of awful. Let me phrase it that way. Again, not to dismiss, not to demean meditation's history. And I don't think that hiding from it is going to benefit anyone. So make sure, okay, nope, that's that. Okay, where did I put it? Okay, sorry. So these are the ones I wanted to highlight with the Yogi Bhajan aspect. The Guru Papers just kind of gives, well, they don't speak directly to Yogi Bhajan. It does give a pretty good overview of just kind of how this authoritarianism runs through sort of the, not just cults, but the wellness space, if you want to call it that. And then another good book that gives more detail here is Premka. Okay, maybe. And then she kind of student of Yogi Bhajan. There is another book that I couldn't find. that gives a different perspective from the devout students, because Yogi Bhajan does still have very strictly. And again, I'm not here to demean context within the wellness industry, meditation practices, just to kind of highlight that problematic. And if we don't know what to look for, more people could potentially be hurt. And that's just not acceptable to me. So I'd rather talk about this in my disjoint, unsmooth way, if you will. I promise you we will reach the conclusion. You will still get the information. And my apologies for all of the internet issues. That's totally throwing me off. But I guess that's what's needed. Okay, so now we're going to move to Osho. Rajneesh movement is what this is largely. And that was Bhagwan Sri name. And he was a charismatic Indian guru, so called, who attracted a large Western following in the 1970s through 80s, known for his provocative teachings on sexuality, freedom, and materialism. Okay, let me drop that for a second here. He framed hedonism, paranoia, and authoritarianism as quote unquote enlightenment and breaking conditioning. In remote communes. Rajneesh therapy for therapy groups for psychological breakdowns, which is, I mean, I just some of the stuff is, I mean, I just some of the stuff it's terrifying. So I feel like the more that we likely people are to be hurt by it, which I think is far more important than my temporary discomfort with having the audacity to speak about it to begin with. I know people are going to be upset with me bringing this up. Again, this is not to diminish the meditative practice that sincerely and legitimately elevates you. This is to speak to the systems and the abuses that have come from not just individuals, but the systems that have allowed this type of thing to continue. Okay, circle engaging in using salmonella poisoning. There was immigration fraud, assassination plot, using salmonella poisoning. There was immigration fraud, assassination plots, and a massive wiretapping scheme. This is just kind of crazy. It reminds me of G's approaches to like the IRS and stuff. Rolls Royces make me laugh because that's highly detrimental to you and to everyone around you. So the third one is coercive secrecy. Oh, I meant to pull that up to have these up on screen. Sorry. And then I kind of put together a fifth one that I was noticing as a thread. It's not really, anyway, just my own added third one that I was like, hey, I'm noticing this more and more. So the third flag is the coercive secrecy. So for gurus, it's the secret teachings for the devoted and wealthy. Authoritarians, it's the classified information, hidden agendas, social media. I'll tell you the real truth in my paid group, right? In my Patreon. That's where we have all the little goodies stored. Core pattern here being using secrecy to create elites and avoid scrutiny. And I mean, part of that, you can see that running through clickbaity thumbnails, right? Where it's like, actually, I know why this is happening. Which, I don't know about you guys, but that's driving me absolutely nuts. Like, just tell me where you're coming from. This is really just a perspective like mine is. This is just my point of view. These are just tidbits that I've noticed from my own experiences that I'm sharing. Like, stop acting like you have these, the universal secrets. And if you do, then again, pop it on a list and share it. Help us all. Fourth flag here is the erosion of boundaries. Pretty big. Now these are not necessarily in any particular order. Probably should have shouted that out, but you can see how smooth I am. So, so for the erosion of boundaries, in regards to gurus, it's the demands on money, time, and body. And I believe there was a clip from, I believe it was Ringpa, maybe I'm thinking of the hot yoga guy, where he would just like step on students to get them into the quote unquote correct posture if their bodies weren't quite there yet. And that struck me as such a it just like it broke my brain. I didn't even know how to interpret that. That was just so crazy to me. For the authoritarians, it's the erosion of privacy and bodily autonomy. Cults, it's love bombing, then isolation, right? And then the core thread here is breaking down protective barriers to gain control. And part of that is the needed reliance on the cult leader and the coercive secrecy, right? Because there's got to be a slow breakdown of your own trust in yourself and your own boundaries, your own beliefs, in order to get you to the space where you're like, yeah, okay, it's fine. They know better. What do I know? Well, you know a lot, so you your intuition should ultimately be what's guiding you here. And then the last one that I had, or that I was thinking about before I went live, that I felt like was just as important, is the encouraged disengagement or spiritual bypassing, which more of a way for you to go, oh, that's just bad vibes. It's that type of thing where you don't really pay attention to what's going on around you. And that's the point of meditation, is it's supposed to connect you to what's going on. It's the purpose is to connect you to everything that you've been numb to, you've been tapping out to, you're running from, that type of thing. So spiritual bypassing can seem like a good idea and easy, but it's really not. It's just another way to go, oh well, I can't do anything about that. I can only heal my suffering. True, that's absolutely true. You can only heal your own suffering. It's just that once you've healed an aspect, you offer that elevation to how this goes. And then, so in the context of a guru or a program, don't get involved in politics. It's all an illusion. Focus on your vibration, manifesting, or your inner peace. In the wellness culture, it's just vibrate higher and you'll avoid the chaos, or your negative thoughts are creating your poverty. The core pattern here being that we see a lot of spiritual language being used to discourage critical engagement with the systemic injustices around us, which is effectively protecting the status quo of what we're seeing, which is not ever going to make a change. It's not ever going to help any of us to elevate above where we're at if we don't engage with the realities that we're seeing. So, and since this isn't just an out there type of a thing, these are patterns that seep into our personal practice, because you can't compartmentalize the world. So I wanted to offer just a quick guided reflection to reclaim your practice. And this isn't something that I was really taught as far as like with any of the reflections, reflect on how your meditation went during the day, how your meditation's been going throughout whatever time schedule you've set for it, that type of thing. But nobody really stopped to reflect on, okay, but should I be continuing this meditation? How am I just clinging to this practice? Like, is it now just so comfortable that I don't want to let it go? That type of thing. So that's what we're going to do here. So first, and you can have your eyes open or closed for this. This is just kind of an easy check-in reflection. So I want you to check in. So where in your practice do you hear a voice saying you're not doing it right? Maybe it's your posture, it's your mantra, it's the time of time you can do it. Well, I guess I should say, is there a point in your practice where you hear a voice saying you're not doing it right? For me, it's length of time. I'm definitely not doing it for as long as I feel I could be. Okay, and then with that, with the answer that comes up with that, I want you to notice how it feels. So when you ask that question, let's say your answer is nope, I don't hear that at all. Okay. This still applies to you. I want you to notice how your body feels with that. If your answer is yes, I do hear I'm not doing this, whatever that is for you. I'm not doing that right. I want you to notice how it feels. Does it feel rigid? Is it forced? Is it rooted in fear, anxiety, panic? I want you to notice how that feels. And then out of there it will. If you're ready to hear what's in there, perfect. Give it the space to open up if you're ready for that. Just continue to deepen your breath. Nothing crazy, just we're just getting a feel right here. And then I want you to take a moment to note to a method. And by that I mean, are you taking a step back and going, well, maybe it's not working because I'm not doing it exactly as the teacher says I have to. Well, that's giving your power away. Because the bottom line is the teacher is presenting it as it works for them. You need to adapt it for you, right? So that was adapted for that teacher in that specific way because that's what was needed for them. That's why when I go through the meditations, I try to offer alternatives that may work better for you if you find that there's a spot you're stuck in, because you should be adapting these meditations where you're at, what you're feeling stuck. So, just a way to an app, a teacher, a method, a practice, time of day, anything like that. Nice long deep breaths here. And then I want you to reflect on where your practice feels joyful, liberating, and truly yours, truly your own practice. Let that expand and kind of unfold out. And lastly, I want you to notice what you can lovingly release and what you can adapt. So what parts of your practice and let that part go. And then this part could actually work better if I tweaked it here and adapted it to be whatever it is that you need. Yeah, my intuition is screaming that after that, I will definitely be doing that. Okay, and then just to close this out, I didn't want to take too long. This was mostly just a reminder to check in with your own practice. Make sure that you are in charge of your own organic meditative. I was going to say program, but that's not the word I wanted. So you're your own, and it should very much be organic. It should adapt. It should change. It should